The certainty of death is a reminder that each day is a gift and that we must live with purpose and intent in order to fulfill our life. Mondays are for motivation, and you already know, you might notice the setting is a little bit different. I'm actually in a cemetery close to where I frequent from time to time when I'm walking through. And I wanted to make a video here simply because I feel as though it would emphasize the point that I'm trying to make with some of these videos. I know a lot of you have joined my channel. Thank you for subscribing. The reason why you joined originally was because you noticed a lot of like the dating and relationship topics, and those topics will come back just in a different format, in a way that doesn't sound like everyone else, and something that's a bit more edifying. Me personally, I don't mean to go into this rant so early, but me personally, I'm tired of going through like the basic conversations of dating and relationships, because the more I talk about that stuff, the more I realize that we're just talking about social dynamics between individuals, and a lot of the things that we like to blame the opposing gender for is really just human characteristics and human things that we all go through. This is the human experience, right? So while I formulate and think of other ways to make that kind of content a bit more edifying, I want to spend some time doing what I actually like talking about, which is motivation, and reminding you that you're gonna fucking die one day. Seriously, let's talk about it. You already see the tombstone behind me, and just as a note to anyone who takes these things very, very serious, especially with the afterlife and stuff like that, I mean absolutely no disrespect by sitting here and, you know, essentially laying on people's graves. That's essentially what I'm doing here, right? I'm sitting on it. But I just wanted to make that disclaimer that I mean absolutely no disrespect by this. Again, I just wanted to sit here to further emphasize the illustration that, you know, death is something that comes for us all. I mean, it literally does come for us all. I mean, there's a tombstone behind me, you know, and death is not something that's exclusive. It's not as though, you know, death only happens to certain people. We all go, man or woman, right? We all pass at some point. And that's what I want to talk about. So the first way I wanted to break this down is just, you know, getting the concept or the grasp of death. Obviously, we all know what death is, right? You're here 1 second and then you're gone the next. It would be foolish of me to assume that I know everything about the afterlife, whether that is, you know, in favor of God or opposing the theories. Regardless, I don't know what happens. All I know is we're here for one moment and then we're gone the next. You know, case in point, I like to use my brother as this illustration because, you know, the night my brother DJ passed away, we're actually not too far from where he passed away. Maybe I'll go to there one of these videos and show you guys. But, you know, that night, when I seen him for the last time, you know, I thought I was gonna see him the next day. You know, we were talking about me eating his sandwich because at that time, you know, I was a hefty kid. So, you know, I like to eat food. They called me the human trash can for a reason, at least in my household, because I ate everything essentially. I'm glad we made up after we got into our argument and stuff like that, but I went to bed with the foolish understanding that, you know, he'd wake up the next day. And obviously he didn't pass away from natural causes, but his life was indeed taken soon. So with that, once that happened, at least in my mind, it kind of set precedent for a lot of the things I was thinking from 17 up until now, because the one thing that dawned on me when he passed away was just the thought that you could spend an entire lifetime doing things you don't want to do, working for people you don't want to work for, ultimately cultivating a life and funding other people's lives, especially if you're a guy in the traditional sense, funding the lives of other people that, truth be told, that's not even what you wanted in the first place. And these are the things that make the life in general so challenging, simply because, you know, at the end of the day, one could think to themselves like, okay, I know that there is some fundamental things that I have to do regarding life, you know, as far as like getting an education and, you know, potentially starting a family, whatever your biological imperative is. But ignoring those things, I think male or female, we all have a duty to become the best version of ourselves, but more so than that, impact the lives of other people. And that falls in many forms, right? That's not necessarily me saying that there has to be one specific way to do it. You know, I was in fact talking to a gentleman earlier today who was talking about having children and raising kids. We're relatively the same age, but you know, I have no children, and I have no children for a myriad of reasons. I think one of the biggest ones is just making sure that financially I can cover them for the rest of their life. Because yeah, you know, you have a child and you're supposed to take care of them from 0 to 18, but really that's a lifelong thing. So until I'm good and ready and sure that I want to give my life in that fashion, I'm not going to do it. It would be a foolish thing to do. But that doesn't mean that just because you don't have children, you can't have an impact in people's lives. You know, there are tons of things that we can all do, which leads me into my second quadrant. Now that we know that death is a thing, I mean, we already knew that, but the question is, how do we maximize our time, and how do we live the lives that we know we're supposed to live? Part of that comes with ideation and visualizing and having an idea as to what or who you want to be in. And with those things in mind, you create that kind of paradigm, or, you know, the action plan necessary in order for you to become that. You know, I think in my case, or just in anyone's case realistically, you know, we all want to live lives of not grandeur per se, but, you know, we want to live lives and have opportunities that, you know, maybe some in our families didn't have, or, you know, some people in our families didn't have the encouragement necessary in order to achieve these things. But being that this is the one life that we have, being that this is the only opportunity, as far as we know, that we have in order to really have a true human experience, it really comes down to figuring out what you truthfully want in life. And I think part of the reason why that's so hard to do nowadays is because A, we're spoiled for choice, and B, social media. Social media has done a number on people as to where, you know, they consistently live vicariously through others. So they spend a lot of times on Instagram and various social media platforms just checking out what other people are doing. You know, listen, I don't live the most exciting life either, but shit, you'd be surprised at how many people think I live the most poppin' life. I don't. At least I don't think so. Or at the very least, not to the caliber that I want to live it. But a lot of people spend time just going through Instagram and social media and just watching how other people live, and, you know, they think that's life. A lot of people, you know, younger generations as well, have been born into this internet era, and for us millennials, I think we're blessed with the fact that we were on the cusp or the precipice of it. We weren't necessarily born without technology per se, but the explosion and the growth that technology has seen has definitely played out throughout our lifetime. I would almost say exclusively. I mean, obviously you'll have some boomers, you know, who've been through that as well, but I think as far as being a millennial is concerned, we definitely lived through that internet age. So being influenced by other people is very easy, even if you don't think it's possible. Sometimes I like to think that I'm not easily influenced, and sometimes I find myself doing things because I was influenced by other people. It takes a lot of effort in being cognizant and aware of those things. But then it also takes like a secondary aptitude, or like almost like a superpower in today's day and age, I would say, as to where you now have to be able to avoid all the influences that you're constantly receiving, even influences that you don't want, and having to consistently stay focused on the things that you do. And unfortunately, I believe a lot of that comes through life experience, you know, which is why I would say if you are a younger individual watching this video, I would recommend, unless you're making content, like you're making money from your content, or, you know, you're just trying to build a lifestyle making content, I would encourage you to stay away from social media as much as possible. Because as far as I'm concerned, being on social media consistently, it takes away from you being able to think for yourself. And I know that might sound stupid to a lot of people, but when you lose the capacity to think for yourself, you invariably end up living a life that is not by your own design, which, case in point, theoretically, you are a slave to someone else's wishes and dreams for you. And why would you want that as an individual? How many of us have been raised in families where they didn't see you as a person or like as an individual yourself? They seen you more as a utility or an extension of themselves. I know that was me growing up. So we never really received that kind of encouragement to, you know, be daring enough to venture out and discover the things that we like or that we're interested enough so to make that the things that we want to do. But what I could tell you here is that in this life, in a life where you could be gone in an instant, right? And listen, I'm not saying that happens to everyone. You know, like, not everyone becomes a murder victim. Not everyone ends up passing through a freak tragic event. but we still do pass away. It's important in that case to understand that the things that you want have to come from yourself, because unless they don't, it will forever be a struggle for you to finally become and develop into that individual you know in your heart of hearts you want to be. Without using myself too much as an example, when I first got into acting and modeling, it was something that I wanted intrinsically. Like, that was something I wanted to do. But listening to other people and listening to their ideas for me, and more so just, them saying like, oh, you're going to become a doctor, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. Those were never things that I wanted to do. So it took me some time to get on my own path and my own journey, which, side note, regardless if you're, trying to follow a dream that, you think most people have, first of all, most people aren't even willing to put in the work ethic necessary to get to where they want to be. And secondly, you might have a similar dream to someone, but that doesn't mean that both of you are going to make it. And I would like to preface that by saying, or bolster rather, by saying, you might have dreams in this life that are true intrinsic desires, things that you really want to accomplish, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to accomplish them, fortunately or unfortunately. The only thing I could provide you here is the philosophy that regardless if you make it or not, live a life on your terms. Do the things that you want to do before it's too late. And I mean that quite literally. There are tons of books you could read about stuff like this, but more times than not, when elderly people are interviewed moments before they pass, there's always an air of, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I didn't listen to X, Y, and Z person, I wish I decided to take the chance. I want to paint to you that picture as best as I can. I'm not the best storyteller in the world. I'm working on it. Side note, if you're enjoying this video and you're enjoying these stories, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 10K by 2025. We are so close. We're about less than 400 subscribers away from 10K. So do me that favor, s'il vous plaît, I beg of you, merci beaucoup. Hit that subscribe button, share this video with someone that you care about, you want to see them flourish and you want to see win. Let's get back to it. My ultimate goal for you in this world, my ultimate goal for you and for myself as well, but is to live a life that you are thankful for and you're grateful for. And at the end of the day, you can lay on that deathbed, if you're so lucky to be on a deathbed, that you can lay there and say, you know what, I did everything I wanted to do, and I could live a life. I could pass on knowing that my life was by my design. Yeah, you might have some people that influence you or motivate you to do things. That's how life goes. But there should always be a locus of control, and that locus of control is always going to be your mind. Not laying here disrespectfully. I hope whoever has passed here is, in another dimension, enjoying themselves. But here's what I wanted to get at, and this is the final piece that I have for this video. Look at this date. You might not see it, but it says 1847. This person lived for a long fucking time. And they passed away 1929. By all accounts, that is a very long time, right? But here's the thing. Between this birth date and this death date, between this birth date and this death date, we don't know what they did. We don't know how they lived. We don't know anything, right? That's not the point of what I'm saying here. What I'm really trying to get at is this dash in between. Truthfully speaking, in our heart of hearts and at our core, the only thing that we have, or the only thing that will speak about our lives, is the dash in between our birth and death year and the people who have lived beyond us, right? So like, for example, when my brother passed away, my brother's been gone for almost 14 years now. Who still talks about him? I do. So technically he's still around, right? But what I'm trying to get at here is you have two certainties. The first one is that you're born. The second one is that you pass away. And the third one, unfortunately for us in the world of Caesar, is that we pay taxes, right? But no, seriously, there are two definites in life. That you're going to be born and that you're going to die, right? Obviously, if you're alive and you're watching this, you're already born. So the first half is already done. The second half, you don't know when is going to happen. So my question to you is, why live a life that you don't want to live? Why live a life that is not on your terms? Why live a life to where you've pigeonholed yourself into living the whims and fantasies of someone else when you have God knows how long, no pun intended, to discover who you are, become that person, and then influence others to do the same. Not necessarily be like you, but more so become the best version of themselves. Personally, I think that's what my purpose on this life is for. Like, yeah, acting and modeling is cool, but really I find true enjoyment in helping motivate people become the best version of themselves, whatever that might look like. You know, like, it's not up to me to determine what the best you is. It's up to you. And ultimately, that is the core of this message. Nothing in this world can influence you more than you'll influence yourself. But if you don't give yourself the chance to influence yourself by being real with your true desires, being real with your interests, or if you haven't discovered those things, then I implore you to discover it. But your life will never change if you don't have these things in your mind. You have to keep in mind that, yes, you do pass away. None of us like to talk about death. I'm not sitting here, being happy talking about death all day. But I can tell you that it's gonna happen. And if you don't make a decision to start living life how you see fit, that doesn't mean stupidly or, incredibly hedonistic. I'm not saying that you have to live a life going to Club Hacienda, every Friday. Shout out to you if you know what Club Hacienda is. If you don't know what it is, mind your business. But you don't have to go to Club Hacienda every day to experience what the best life has to offer. I'm telling you could find it in other things. And the first and foremost place that you'll find it is within accomplishing what you really want out of this life. I hope you enjoyed the message for today. Listen, once again, do me a favor. Let's grow the community. Let's get it to 10K subscribers. We're less than 400 away. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video and you found value in it, I'm going to constantly say that. I'm going to keep putting in the effort and the work to make this as valuable as possible for you. But if you find value in this video, please share this video, spread the message so we can go ahead and impact other people. Dating and relationship content will be on its way as well. Again, I want to do it in a way that's more edifying to the viewer and, something that I could also enjoy. But for now, I hope you do enjoy these motivational videos. Let me know your thoughts and your comments below in the comment section. Of course, check out the links. We got a couple of affiliate links rolling out next week as well, so be on the lookout for those. But yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for giving me your ear, your time, and I hope you have a great day and a great life. Peace.